Good evening, everyone. Dr. J here for our weekly live study and chill CISSP study session, courtesy of Pocket Prep, as we do every Monday for an hour. We go over 30 questions through the Pocket Prep database as we prepare for the CISSP exam. If you uh, are currently a member of the command line, our community on Discord, thank you for joining. But if you want to join, please reach out. I'll send you a invite link, um, so that way you could join the community as we do other study sessions that are not broadcasted live, but as we do within the Discord. So you definitely want to join, so you make sure you're part of that as well. Another thing I do want to share is that recently entered a partnership with Hack the Box. So that'll be something that we look forward to really utilizing, especially for our Fridays, for our Friday night labs, and also part of that, I'm looking to give away a free voucher for to utilize the Hack the Box platform. So if you are interested in using that. As we as you utilize platforms like Hack the Box to really enhance your skills working in different labs, this is the route you want to go. So definitely, again, if that's something that is interest of you to you, definitely again reach out, as looking to do a giveaway for a free a voucher, so that way you can get free access, I believe, for a year to the Hack the Box platform, so you have full range and access to their labs and be able to study and get your skills up when it comes to that. All right, let me just check the chat here real quick, see if there's anything people are sending over. All right, all right, let's go ahead and I'll share my screen. All right. All right, let me adjust my layout real quick. All right, bring this up. All right, question one. All right, Rebecca is activating a hot site to simulate a disaster recovery event. Of the following, what is generally considered the time frame it should take to activate the site? All right, so we were talking about hot site, warm site, and cold sites. So cold sites are going to take the longest to get stood up because there's nothing. It's pretty much a shell. Of course, like your central air and everything else, but there's no equipment. Um, really, I don't think there's even any desks or anything like that. So that's going to be the longest to get set up. Um, Warm side, of course, you're kind of in the middle, and hot side is pretty much an exact replica of your active site. So that way, if something does happen, go to your hot site. You really your downtime is going to be minimal. Um, so with that said, so we look for a hot site. So they activate a hot site to simulate a disaster recovery event. Yeah, I'm looking at alpha. It's gonna be minutes to hours. Yes, not weeks to months. No, excuse me. That's why it's important to check all your choices. I like Charlie even better. Seconds to minutes. I think minutes to hours would be good for the warm site. Um, Bravo and Delta would I think that would fall into the cold site category. Yeah, for hot site, I believe that's going to be seconds to minutes, because again, that's going to be wow. Okay, that threw me off. Oh, fine. What should I consider time frame it should take to activate the site? If it's a hot site, then why? Let me see what they say for. Hmm. Yeah, so hot sites already have the required equipment, including servers, communication links, and probably some data. If configured correctly, they should go live within minutes to hours. The most recent data and people are missing from the site. Okay. Warm site, don't have live data, may take days or weeks. Okay, so that'll be Delta. I'm just really trying to see why. Yeah, cold sites are empty, no server, no communication equipment. Cold sites may take a few weeks or months. Yeah, that's why I figured that'd be a cold site. Mirror sites have everything needed at both locations for critical business processes. If one site goes offline, the other is already there and working. Service may be disrupted. Um, for anyone connected to the site that failed, it could take seconds to minutes to restart a connection with the other site. Uh, really thought hot site was. I really thought hot site was that. I mean, hot site is, from my understanding, hot site is a an essential replica because you're maintaining the live data in a hot site. So that way, when something does go down, you can quickly um, get that site stood up. And I figured that it is kind of describing a mirror site when you talk about a hot site. Hmm. Okay, that's something I'll have to go back on because I felt very confident about that one. But yeah, seconds to minutes hot site. All right, no need to belabor the point, but yeah. So the correct answer for this is minutes to hours, not seconds to minutes, as I thought. All right, no problem. That's why we practice. When using a redundant array of independent disks or RAID, which RAID level both stripes and mirrors data across a set of drives? All right. So if it's doing both stripes and mirroring, that uh that should be delta. Oops, I'm clicking on the wrong screen. Yeah. Yeah, RAID 10 is a combination of RAID 1 and 0. So a set of drives are grouped into two separate RAID 1 groups. Each RAID 1 group is viewed as a volume in a RAID 0. So this creates a striping across the RAID 1 groups. RAID 10, yeah, it's a combination of RAID 1 and RAID 0. Usable storage is reduced by 50% of the total storage. Now, RAID 5, now data is striped between a set of drives, but parity is also written to each drive. So this allows for a single drive to fail without causing the RAID to fail. This provides redundancy, but the usable storage is reduced by one drive's worth of storage. All right, so we got ourselves back on track with that one. All right. Which type of control requires identifying occurrences to perform its functions? All right, so you could eliminate Charlie. It's not going to be deterrent. Mm, I'm leaning towards Delta for detective. Let me check the other ones. Recovery. So, what type of control requires identifying occurrences to perform its functions? I don't think it's Bravo. Corrective. I feel like when you're talking about identifying, maybe you're like investigating. So that's why I'm kind of leaning towards Delta. Um, identifying occurrences to perform. Okay. Yeah, I think this is gonna be Delta. Yeah. Yeah, detective controls are deployed to detect or identify unwanted or unauthorized activity. These controls are frequently deployed after an event to ensure that future occurrences are discovered. Detective controls do not directly block or prevent unwanted activity. Detective controls include security cameras, motion detectors, and virus scans. All right, Greta is installing a network-based data loss prevention appliance to ensure trade secrets are not accidentally leaked outside the organization. Of the following, which is the most important for the DLP appliance to work as designed? All right, so you're doing a network-based DLP. What's the most important for the DLP appliance to work as designed? And you want to make sure that trade secrets are not accidentally leaked. So, data classification, I think, is going to be the most important aspect here. Because if you don't know what you're protecting or the value of what you're protecting, there is a chance you may that introduces the possibility for leaks. Because and with that said, it also affects how you protect it, protect that that data. If you know that it's, for example, if it's top secret or if it's unclassified, the way you protect from both both areas, it's going to be different. So I think data classification is going to be the most important. You need to know mm, uh, the classification is going to play a vital role in this. Again, you can't execute the proper, I'd say, protection techniques if you don't know what exactly it is you're protecting. All right, Acme Inc. uses RBAC or role-based access control. Which of the following is most likely to determine what systems a user can access and the user's privileges on those systems? All right, it's not going to be seniority. Um, data level, data labels and classification. That's going to be MAC, mandatory access control. Uh, I think that's going to be the same for Bravo. I think it's going to be title. When we talk about role based access control, it's going to be, yeah, job title. Let's see if I'm right. Yep. Yeah, a system that employs role based access control or RBAC maps a subject's role with their needed operations and tasks. Um, Meaning users are assigned roles and not resources. Therefore, if an organization uses RBAC, job titles are likely to determine access rights. All right, a forensic analyst has retrieved a mobile device as part of an ongoing investigation and wants to ensure the evidence on the device is not tampered with remotely. What tool could the analyst use to prevent remote tampering? Uh, I don't remember what Delta is. Um, Faraday bag is going to prevent any, I guess, unwanted signals getting to that device. Like if you put in a yeah a bag or a box, if you will, or case. Um, Not gonna be lockbox. Yeah, yeah. Faraday is gonna block off any signals from getting to it. I'm leaning towards Charlie. I cannot remember what FDE stands for. Uh, I hope it's not what the answer is supposed to be. I'm gonna go with Faraday bag. Yes. Okay. Good. What does FDE mean? Oh, full disk encryption. Yeah. Either way, that wasn't the right answer. Yeah, Faraday bag. Yeah, prevents electromagnetic interference and ability to remotely wipe or otherwise interact with a device remotely. Lock boxes provide physical security for a device, but do not prevent the transference or reception of radio waves. An anti-static bag prevents static electricity from damaging devices such as motherboards, but does not prevent wireless communication to and from the mobile device. Now, while full disk encryption is great, it's still accessible by the very person who created the password. Therefore, the device could potentially be accessed remotely if configured to do so. All right, which of the following is not a valid database model? All right, so you have relational, hierarchical. Uh, so you take out alpha and delta. Attribute value. So I know, yeah, hierarchical, relational. I feel like it was compartmentalized, if I'm not mistaken. Which of the following is not a valid? Oh boy. Which of the following is not a valid database? Object oriented. I think I have to go with Bravo. Um, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Three most common types are relational, hierarchical, and object-oriented databases. Um, let me move the cursor out the way. So object-oriented was the next up and coming model. It looked like it was going to get adopted, but big data was introduced and took over. So that's why object oriented looked familiar, but it didn't like kind of because given that yeah, it's not necessarily used. Um, as that big data took that spot. Um, but they said the three types is still relational, hierarchical, and object oriented. Okay. All right. The IC squared code of ethics canons includes all except which of the following? All right. Advance and protect the profession, correct. Protect society, the common good, necessary public trust, and the infrastructure. Oh. All right, so uh, Alpha and Charlie, I believe, are correct. Where's the print? I think Bravo's wrong because I know one of them is has to do with principals, and I don't see that here. And I don't. Mm, I, I think this is gonna be Bravo. Yeah, yeah, protect. Yeah, that's not a canon. The safety and welfare of society and the common good do. Oh, the safety and welfare of society and the common good, duty to our principals and to each other requires that we adhere, be seen to adhere to the highest ethical standards of behavior. Okay. Yeah, provide. Yeah, there it goes. Yeah, provide diligent and competent service to principals. Um, other ones we have correct here. Same choices for the remaining ones. But yeah, the last one are that definitely stuck out. That yeah, I was looking for that one. Now couldn't remember exactly what that canon was verbatim, but I knew principals was like the key word, and I didn't see that in any of them. So that helped me get through that one. Another raid question. All right. Alex is a system administrator for an online gaming company. His organization designed their server clusters to be highly redundant, meaning if they lose a few nodes, it will not impact their production environment. They are more concerned with each node's write speed than the redundant components of the node itself. Based on this information, what redundant array of independent disks RAID level will Alex most likely use when deploying additional nodes? Oh boy. Um. So yeah, striping and mirroring. Uh. Oh, and I know write speed is a. I think. I think. Mm, I think it's gonna be Charlie because you have another. Yeah, you have another hard drive. With RAID 1. Ah. Oh. Okay. So RAID 0 stripes um, data across multiple disks. This increases the chance of failure, but increases the write and read speed. RAID 1 mirrors data across multiple disks. This decreases the usable drive space by 50% and provides some write speed benefits if multiple disks can be written at once. All right, which of the following best represents a social engineering attack? And following an employee through a door that requires batch identification. Mm, mm, That'd be like piggybacking. I say that have to be Bravo, claiming to be a repair person to gain access to a secure system. Yeah. Yeah, social engineering involves tricking a person into divulging information or granting the attacker access to a system. This includes stealing credentials and tricking someone into granting building access. All right, Maya is an email backup administrator. She receives a notice from a court that a former employee is suing the organization. The order says she must hold any data backups of the employer's email to be used in the pending litigation. When she receives the order, she immediately begins the process of retaining the former employee's emails and notifies her manager. Of the following, what best describes the process of identifying and producing the data requested in this type of order? Uh, that's going to be Bravo litigation hold. Yeah, because it says the order says must hold any data backups of the employee's email to be used in independent litigation. Yeah, it's not chain of custody. You're not talking about transferring evidence over and diligently documenting everything, every step, who had it last, what they did, so on and so forth. That'll be chain of custody. Um, e-discovery is like when you're just doing a search, like on a system and whatnot. Oh yeah, this is gonna be Bravo. What? I was wrong. Let me read this again. It says must hold any data backups of the email to be used when she immediately begins the process of retaining the former employee's emails and notifies her manager. Litigation's hold is incorrect because it does not produce information. It only requests that information is not destroyed. So where does it say that? She receives a notice from a court that a former employee is suing the org, or it says she must hold any data backups on the employee's email to be used in the pending litigation. All right. What best describes the process of identifying and producing the data requested in this type of order? Okay. Yes, litigation hold does not produce information. E-discovery, that's a term used to describe the process of identifying and producing electronically stored information or ESI requested by a court subpoena. So that's where I got there. Okay. All right. In a common law system, tort law is another term for what category of law? I believe that's civil law. Yeah, tort is another name for civil law. Examples include divorce and lawsuits. Civil or tort cases occur because someone has caused harm or injury to another. That harm could be simply saying something that injures someone's reputation, for example, slander. All right, of the following, which National Institute of Standards and Technology special publication most likely sets requirements for U.S. federal information systems? I believe that's 853. Yep. Yeah, 800-53 set of standards that federal agencies are required to meet. NIST SP 800-53 was created in response to the passage of the Federal Information Security Management Act, or FISMA. Um, NIST SP 800-187 is a guide to long term evaluation, or LTE security. NIST SP 800-124 is a guideline for managing the security of mobile devices in the enterprise. NIST SP 800-122 is a guide for protecting the confidentiality of personally identifiable information. All right. Oops. Sorry. All right. Which of the following data protection methods best allows a data set to be analyzed and shared without any risk to the privacy of those from whom the data was collected? Share without any risk. Um, yeah, if you want it to be analyzed, um, we're going to look at, yeah, you want to protect the privacy of those. Yeah, I'm looking at Charlie. Encryption, you're not going to, while it's encrypted, while it's in the encrypted state, you're not going to be able to analyze it. Um, Token, no. Hashing, no. Because hashing, you're you're checking the integrity of the data, see if anything changed. Um, yeah, this should be Charlie. Yeah. Okay. Anonymization refers to the technique of removing the fields in a data set which associate that data with a particular person. So, for example, person identifiable information fields, so that the balance of data in that set can be analyzed and shared without any risk to the privacy of those from whom the data was collected. Both direct and indirect identifiers are removed permanently with anonymization. Unlike tokenized data fields, anonymized data fields cannot be recovered, making it the best method for privacy. Uh, all right, Ralph is performing a security assessment for management and is using a network mapping tool to discover all devices on a network. He runs a scan with 192.168.0.0/16 as the target. What range of usable Internet Protocol addresses will this scan? Uh, Lord. Net Plus, I hate you. All right. Um, one, so yeah, it's gonna be. Well, yeah, I was easy. Yeah, the first one's gonna be. Cause the first one's gonna be unusable. Dot zero. So yeah, 192.168.0.1. 192. No, I could eliminate delta because that second octet is wrong for 192. I'm looking at Charlie. Oh boy. Um, I I, I don't I don't see how Bravo is correct. Um, yeah, I'm gonna go with Charlie. Bravo was correct. 255. All right, let's see. Let's see what I did wrong. All right, so a network mapping tool can be instructed to use a valid IP range as a target to ensure it scans the entire network. So, request for comments 1918 reserves the following IP addresses for private networks. So, we're looking at that last one there. So, 192.168.0.0/16. So, that's going to be, yeah, 192.168.0.0 through 192.168.255.255. So that's the range of usable um, IP addresses. But that, but 192.168.0.0. The first one is not going to be usable though. I feel like the explanation is it's a little wrong because you have your broadcast and your broadcast IP, which is not used, it's not usable. So that's why we started with 192. 168.0.1, and the last one, why you don't go 255, or if 255 is the broadcast. I know one of them is like carryover or something. Let's try this go deeper. Let's see what this says. Oh, it goes into AI. All right, well let's see the explanation. All right, so the slash 16 in CIDR notation tells you exactly how many bits are locked as the network portion. So in this case, the first 16 bits. So since an IPv4 address is 32 bits total, that leaves 16 bits free for host addressing. Yeah, yeah, okay. Which gives you 2 to the 16th power, so 65,536 total addresses. 65,534 usable, excluding the network and broadcast. Okay, network and broadcast. That's what it was. I know broadcast. I couldn't remember what the other one was. So network and broadcast addresses. So for 192.168.0.0/16, the first two octets we had that established. 192.168 are fixed. So while the last two octets can range from 0.0 through 255.255, producing the range 192.168.0.1 through 192.168.255.254. This is one of three private IP addresses. IP range is defined by RFC 1918 and recognized in a relationship between the prefix length and the number of variable octets is a reliable shortcut for quickly calculating the scan ranges on the exam. Okay. That was a little better for me. Um, Again, this definitely hits on your net plus. Um, we're talking about doing side annotation, subnetting, things of that nature. That definitely comes up. It may not be as heavy, especially if you're taking like a net plus or a CCNA exam, but it still does come up. So definitely don't want to skip those before you take this exam. All right, an attacker has gained access to a database um, has gained access to a database with customer records and sells credit card numbers on the dark web. What term best describes this event? Mm. Gain access to a database. I feel like it's exposure, but then you have data breach. So an attacker gains access. Yeah, gains access to it with customer records and sells the credit card numbers. Yeah, you can skip Charlie. I don't think it's gonna be. I feel this is gonna be data breach, and only reason I'm thinking exposure to only because they're saying that they sold because it's one thing that they gain access to the database that data breach, but then they're saying that they sold the numbers, so now it's really putting those affected customers, making them more vulnerable because now the information's out there being sold. Um, uh, I'm gonna go with data breach, but I have a feeling it might be exposure too. Okay, good. That was the stronger one. Okay, exposure is a term used in risk analysis to explain how much of a data system or corporation is at risk. Okay. Data breach security event that results in the actual or potential disclosure of protected information. So in this case, credit card data was stolen and sold in in an unauthorized manner. So since the data breach is more specific than a security event, data breach is the better answer. Okay, so I think I had that same kind of mindset for that explanation there in the first paragraph, but just with the wrong term. So um, data breach is the next level up to security event, not to exposure. All right. Of the following triple data encryption standard 3DS model mode, excuse me, which encrypts the data times three using three different keys, but does not decrypt in the encryption routine. Oh, I don't know, man. uh, I'll find 3DS modes. Which encrypts E the data three times using three different keys, but does not decrypt the encryption routine. I don't know. I'm gonna go with my best guess. I'm gonna go with Alpha. That was a guess, bro. I I generally did not know that one. Yeah, triple data encryption standard 3DS or 3DS, however you want to term it, has four different modes. So E K to the first power, K to the second, E K to the second, E K3, and P. It's really hard to read. Sometimes represented as this triple E3 encrypts the data three times using three different keys. All right, so the first choice is the one we picked. That was the correct answer. Now, for the second one here, so that's EDE3, so that encrypts the data twice with decryption in the middle and uses three different keys. The third choice here, so that's triple E2 encrypts the data three times using two different keys. Okay. Now, the last one here, DES EDE2 encrypts the data twice with decryption in the middle and uses two different keys. So it's okay. It's not as bad as you know, at least from my standpoint, when you actually see the explanation behind it. It's like, I guess, learning the system. Um, I'll even to say, like, I guess the naming convention for this, it makes it easier to understand. So so um, E represent how many times it's going to be encrypted, and the keys is the number. So again, so that's why, yeah, for this triple E3, there's three E's, so that means that's how many times it's gonna be encrypted. The number, the numerical value there is gonna be how many keys are used. So since this one has three, it's gonna be three different keys. So if you look at the third choice for DES triple E2, that's gonna be three. It's gonna be encrypted three times, but using two different keys, and so on and so forth. But then, okay, well, then if you introduce decryption, it encrypts the data twice with decryption in the middle and uses two different keys. So there's only two E's for encryption, decryption ones for, say, one D for decryption. So decryption in the middle between the two, and then the number two that represents the two different keys, that numerical value. So yeah, it's really not that bad once you learn the that naming convention. Let me sure I got okay. All right, which of the following is characterized legally by securing protections on data critical to an organization's operations? Um, should be. Oh, I knew I messed up when I picked it too. Yeah, trade secret. Yeah, trade secret legally secure protection on data critical to organization operations. So, like for if, like a recipe or something like that. Yeah, yeah, like trade secret, like Coca-Cola formula. So stuff like that. That's gonna be like good. Or like KFC recipe. That's a trade secret. That's vital. Like once if that gets out, then it's a wrap. I mean, they won't exist as you know it. There's a wide variety of popular proprietary and open source software for use in nearly any environment. Many of these are software programs such as security environment, security information event managers or SIEMs, and security orchestration, automation, and response or SOAR, aim to provide both a detailed and graphical analysis of a network. Which of the following software programs is considered a SOAR tool? That should be Splunk. That's not Security Onion. And to, I'm not familiar with Delta. I believe it's gonna be Splunk. Yeah. What is? Okay, so PFELC, Security Onion, and NTO, PNG are all themes. Honestly, I'm just not familiar with that. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not familiar with those. Um, PFELC is a combination of Elastic, Longstash, and Kibana or ELK. So that's designed to integrate with open source routing software PFSense. Another tool that integrates with PFSense is NTO-PNG. That's a downloadable package available with PFSense routing software. A SOAR tool will utilize playbooks and runbooks for automated responses to attacks on a network, while a SIEM tool will aggregate logs from various devices and integrate them into one interface. An analyst is compiling data to determine the percentage of system uptime since new security controls were implemented to reduce denial of service attacks. Um, to reduce denial of service attacks. In this case, percentage of system uptime is an example of what? So, so alpha is key risk indicator, Bravo is key performance indicator. Charlie is going to be recovery point objective, and BIA. I don't know why I'm forgetting. I don't know why I'm blanking on Delta. I see it all the time. Business impact analysis, I believe. Um, yeah, it should be RPO, recovery point objective. Yeah. Um, yeah, because RPO deals with data, RTO deals with time. So analysis is compiling data to determine the percentage of system uptime since new security controls are implemented to reduce denial of service attacks. But I don't think that's answering Charlie though. Um, I think it's gonna be Bravo. I think that's gonna be key performance indicator, like how well it performs. Yep. Yeah, key performance indicator are a class of metrics used to measure activity success. KPI measurements enable performance tracking, trending, monitoring, and prioritization or targeting for improvement. Other examples of KPIs are backup success rate and mean time to detect. Um, yeah, BIA, that's business impact analysis. And RPO, as I mentioned, as recovery point objective, that's the maximum amount expressed as an interval of time of data loss an organization can tolerate without adverse action. So actually, I got that wrong. 'Cause I thought it was had more to do with data. An organization cannot tolerate more than a day's worth of data loss with the RPO or 24 hours. So RPO again, that's measured in time. Doesn't RPO and there's another one that has to do with data, amount of data that an organization Can't safely lose. Wait, let me read this again. It's the maximum amount as expressed in an interval of time of data loss. So RPO is so it is data because RTO is time. I'll have to double check that, but I feel like I'm right on that. I think the way that explanation is a little um, throw me off a little bit. All right, which of the following is an example of half duplex communication? Um, then that's gonna be walkie-talkie because car radio is simplex. It's only one way. Cellular phone is full duplex, like both parties can talk back to each other. Um, both parties can talk to each other at the same time. That's full duplex. So you can eliminate delta and alpha. Um, email is it's not half duplex. It's something else. I forget. Well, there's gonna be walkie-talkie. Because yeah, you hold the walkie-talkie, hit the receiver button, you can speak, but then the person on the other end has to wait until you let go, and then they can respond. Yeah, you often use this law enforcement radio. They can both send and receive communication, but it can only transfer one direction at a time. So as I mentioned, you hit the receiver button, say what you got to say. The other person on the other end can hear it, but they can't respond back to you until you let go of the receiver button, and then you can go back and forth that way. Um, so to say email is incorrect because it would most closely resemble full duplex mode communication. There's actually another term for um, when it comes to email. I have to can't quite remember right now. I have to look that up. All right, a disaster recovery plan or DRP should be initiated in which of the following scenarios? Disaster recovery plan should be initiated. So, all right. So, organizations form site experiences a loss of power for an extended period of time. A company loses a all right, alpha. A company loses a patent lawsuit that risks the viability of the organization. No. Business critical file server crashes and no longer boots. I think that would be one. Which is the other one? Ransomware affects one computer but is contained. No. So I could eliminate delta. I could eliminate alpha. An organization's warm site experiences a loss of power for an extended period of time, but it's still your backup site. So I I think you'll be okay. But alpha, I mean, excuse me, Charlie. A business critical file server crashes and no longer boots. That is when I think DRP is gonna come into action. Yep. Yeah, DRP should be initiated when IT is no longer able to support a mission critical process. So, in the scenario where a business critical file server crashes and no longer boots, a DRP should be initiated. All right, which of the following solutions is designed to execute malware in an event where it can do no damage um, and the organization can learn about its capabilities? All right. All right. So I'm looking between Charlie and Delta. So let me read the question again. Design in an environment where it can do no damage to the organization. So I think it's gonna be HoneyNet because it says it's a full environment. A honey, um, so HoneyNet would be like the full network, or in this case, environment. Honeypot would be just like one system. So this should be we could do no damage. Organization can learn. Yeah, it should be. I'm so mad at myself. I mean, yes. I mean, I know what sandboxing is. Maybe I read this wrong. Which of the following solution is designed to execute mal? Yeah, yeah. Because yeah, it didn't say anything about trying to lure an attacker. Uh, I think what threw me off is the last part because where it says it can do no damage and an organization can learn about its capabilities. I think that last part of the sentence there made me think it was HoneyNet because HoneyNet, you're potentially designing a vulnerable network in this case. So an attacker finds that attractive. They want to try to attack it, but um, as for the organization, it allows them to kind of learn the technique of the attacker as they work through that honey net. Um, so that's where my mind was. That was my reason behind why I chose that. Um, yeah, sandbox. Yes, yeah. You have it in a control environment where it doesn't affect any. It doesn't affect your network, your systems. But again, you're able to learn about it, learn about its techniques and everything like that, its capabilities. Um, and you do that within a sandbox. Ah, I'm so mad. That was. I hate missing layups. That was a layup. All right. Which of the following is an element of quantitative risk analysis that represents the possible yearly cost of a specific threat against a specific asset? So, the yearly cost of a specific threat. It should be delta. Yeah. Yeah, ALE measures exactly a 1 year financial loss that a corporation may suffer if an asset suffers from a specifically identified threat. So ALE equals SLE, single loss expectancy, ARO, times ARO, which is analyzed rate of occurrence, and is used to determine risk and insurance requirements based on the potential for failure. The SLE is calculated by taking the asset value and multiplying it by the exposure factor. The exposure factor is the anticipated percentage of loss. SLE is effectively the expected loss if an identified threat occurs once. All right. Open source products can be beneficial for learning, home use, and even in enterprise environments. However, any drawbacks should be considered prior to implementation. What issue is most likely to be associated with open source products, potentially making them a less viable solution than proprietary paid solutions? Open source products can be beneficial for learning. Drawbacks should be considered. What is okay? So we're looking for what the drawbacks are. That's what they're asking us here. So what issue is most likely to be associated with open source products, making them less viable solution than proprietary paid solutions? I don't think alpha is true. Licensing complexity. Limited support. I mean, yeah, open source. There's not like an organization. There's not like a customer service number you can call if something goes wrong. Um, yeah, it's gonna be limited support. Yeah, also open source products can sometimes have limited support as they aren't usually bound by stringent agreements with buyers as the closed source counterparts are maybe. Open source products may not have the same features as many closed source proprietary products in their market. Um, yeah, again, it's not going to have a help desk there for you with open source. It may have a couple things to help. They may have some documents. Uh, maybe like on a Reddit or a GitHub or something like that. But that's essentially it. So you really have to know what you're doing if you're going to use open source, um, especially if something goes wrong. All right, which of the following is least likely to be the audience of a security audit report? All right, so your board of directors, I think yes. Government regulators, functional management. I think it's gonna be alpha. Wow, what? Functional management. Okay, so unlike security assessments, security audits are generally performed by an external group to prevent conflicts of interest. The audience of a security audit report is people outside the company's day-to-day operations, such as the board of directors, government regulators, or large enterprise customers of the audited organization. Functional managers are involved in day-to-day operations. All right. Stealthy security suites and beats is looking to identify key performance indicators within their organization's firewalls. Which of the following would most likely be a reliable KPI? So, key performance indicator. I would eliminate Bravo. Number of times a malicious IP is blocked before and after new security rules implemented. I would say Charlie for the firewall. Because are you seeing that malicious IP again after you implement a fix? Yeah. Yeah, the number of firewall log entries is just a number. Doesn't tell you what it's seeing or doing. Same is true with with the number of snort alerts. It's a generic number that does not relate to something in particular. They're like essentially like empty stats. Does not really give you anything actionable um, to go with. All right, what best defines a Smurf attack? Sending fragment IPs with oversized payloads to the system's machine. Because Bravo sounds like the tear. I think that's the teardrop when it's sending fragmented IPs. Spoofing the source IP address with the victim's address and flooding the broadcast address with ICMP echo requests. I think it's Delta. Yeah, I want to make sure. So, yep. Yeah, sending improperly fragmented IP packets with oversized payloads is called a teardrop attack. This too is a denial of service attack. All right, in non-governmental organizations, which type of information would be least likely to be classified as sensitive? Well, oh man. All right, so employee medical information, that's going to be PHI. Financial information, I think that's would fall under that. Essential business contacts. I think board minutes would reveal a lot. Um, so I think that would be sensitive. I think essential business contacts would be, uh, yeah. Yeah, essential business contacts are typically not classified as sensitive information because they are often publicly available or shared widely for business purposes. They do not contain business or confidential data that could harm the organization or individuals if disclosed. As long as there's no, attributing information to those names, it's fine. Because again, you can look up all those names. Anyone could look up the name, but as long as you don't have any sensitive information attached to the names, that's where it really takes on. That's where you see that classification level change. So, for example, so let's say the file contains something about President Barack Obama. Having the name of President Obama in the file is fine, but now if you had some um, identifying information to attached to President Obama's name, now that changes the again like that classification level. But yeah, the name by itself, again, anyone could look up the name. All right. So, and last question for tonight: what type of malicious software is most likely to be used to achieve or maintain elevated privileges? Choose the most specific correct answer. This is gonna. I think it's gonna be rootkit. Yeah. Yeah, rootkit is used to achieve or maintain elevated privileges on a victim's host. Rootkits frequently masquerade as system level services to avoid detection. They often have kernel level access and are very difficult to detect or remove. See how we did. I mean, it's a cert. It's a pass. Um, I wanted more than that though. This was mad at this one. I really thought I was correct for a hot site because you kind of talk about it here. You say it. Because I mean, a hot site is essentially a mirror site. I mean, it, it's it's maintaining the data of the active site. Um, hmm. Oh well. Yeah, rate zero. Yeah, stripes data across multiple disks increases the chance of failure, but increases the write and read speed. Um, yeah. So yeah, the difference between litigation hold and e-discovery. Just remember, so e-discovery, there's an action that follows up with e-discovery, where litigation there isn't. Um, they just request that the information doesn't is not destroyed. Um, with e-discovery, it describes the process of identifying and producing ESI, electronically stored information requested by a court subpoena. So there is like an actual action like a follow up to that, so that, or even say there's a deliverable attached to that. Um, when it comes to e-discovery, where a litigation hold, there's not. There's no deliverable attached to a litigation hold. Um, Yeah, and here when we talk about the private network ranges, so yeah, so 192.168.0.0/16. So the address is that range 192.168.0.0 through 192.168.255.255. And which the correct answer is 192.168.0.1 through 192.168.255.254. Trade secrets again. Yeah, if you get a recipe to like KFC, Coca Cola, Pepsi, whatever, if that gets out, the company's done. I got again, and this one I got messed up. I messed myself up on the last part of that sentence. Yeah, because again, it did not talk about trying to lure or maybe deceive, if you will, an attacker to learn their techniques and tricks. Um, this is just you like say you have a piece of malware, you just want to learn how the malware works. You can do that within a sandbox. So that's really what this question was asking. So that's why it's really important to to read and then reread the question because the there's certain hints in there that really change how you would answer that question. Um, yeah, functional manager wouldn't be used. Yeah, the functional managers are involved in day-to-day operations, so they're least likely to receive a security audit report. All right. Well, that is it for tonight. Thank you those for joining. Those on the replay. Again, as we do this every week, we're working. We're getting our shots up so we can um, be ready to take the actual exam and to be able to pass. So uh, again, we're going to do this again. We'll have our CSSP session on Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern, but won't be live. It'll be within the Discord. So again, if you if you're not part of the community and you want to join, please reach out. I'll send you a link. Um, Also, go to the website talawacyber.org, and you can find an invite link there to the Discord community. All right, thank you everyone, and I will see you next week.